What are you doing?
I'm reversing the polarity of the ultrasonic screwdriver's power source.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
I just reversed the polarity.
Welcome to the Fan and Fool, everyone. I'm the fan, Matt Ancelli.
I'm the fool, Alex Cameron. You know you're a fan, right?
Yeah, I am.
You almost stumbled over that.
I'm always a fan.
Yeah.
Nowhere more near the fan than this episode's right now.
You've been telling me how good they are, so I've been waiting for them.
Good.
Yes.
Did you watch them?
I have watched them.
Good. So, before we get to them...
Such little faith. Of course I'd watched
I watched them all today.
all 6.
No, 3.
Okay, we're doing half and half, right?
Yeah, we're doing half and
when
half.
When you said all, I thought you meant all of them.
No, all of this half of this arc.
Of this season. Of classic.
Season 2.
There's so much Doctor Who, there's 4 categories that drop down every time you're talking about a specific story. It's this story arc of this season of classic Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Of the half of that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to watch them yesterday, but Alex.
Yes.
Alex.
That's me.
Yesterday,
Uh-oh.
we had the return of modern
Jafar?
Doctor Who.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Monday nights, 7:30 ABC. Everybody watch.
So
Or
that's
6:20 on iView, which is when I watched it.
Is that the 13th Doctor?
13th Doctor. Jodie Whittaker. First part of... I think this bit's it's a bit like a mini-series. It's like a 6-part thing, which we will not be able to... We'll have to split that up, because it's not like this where it's 6 parts of 25 minutes. It's 6 parts of like an hour.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you're preparing... You know, you're already way ahead. You're preparing for a show we're going to be watching in 10, 20 years.
Yeah, we will be fine. We'll be here.
We're about 30 plus... How many seasons away are we from that?
So there's 26 seasons in the classic.
Okay.
So 26 classic.
Yes.
Hang on. Yeah, 26 classic.
Plus.
Plus a telly movie.
Okay.
That's after the 26 seasons. And then there's... we're up to season 13 now?
So yeah, 40 seasons.
No, it must be... No, yeah, it must be 13.
So I'm glad you're prepared for an episode we're watching in 40 seasons' time.
And there is a lot of these episodes.
There is. Anyway.
But it was so good. And I also had sign language assessment last night, so I also stayed up real late and didn't sleep and went to work today and taught, and I came home and collapsed and watched 3 episodes of Doctor Who.
Okay.
But I wrote a lot of notes, and I'm really keen because we're doing the Dalek invasion of Earth today.
Which I know is one of your favourite storylines?
Yes, but mainly because it's a very significant story.
Right.
And we probably haven't reached the point of significance yet in this first half.
I can feel it building to something.
It is building to something.
But I knew it hadn't happened yet, because I know there's a thing that's going to happen.
You know why it probably hasn't happened yet?
Why?
Because it's 3 whole or more episodes.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen until the end, or it builds towards a climactic
I can
event.
kind of see it starting to...
Clicking a gear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clickety gear.
We are talking, of course, about the Dalek invasion of Earth.
In the year 2164.
Yes.
Well, that's at least when they pick up a calendar. Which, by the
That's
way...
true, good point. Because it's exactly 200 years after when this was filmed. I guess that was the point. 1964.
Ooh, but I think this is 1965.
Oh.
But, you know, maybe calendars... They started making calendars while the Daleks were invading Earth. Who knows?
That's a good point. If you're hiding away for fear of being killed, you're not going to work at the calendar making factory, are you?
No, but I also thought... we'll get to the point where they find the calendar.
Yep.
Just one more thing about it.
Yeah.
It literally just said 2164 on the page. Didn't have a day or date. I don't think they were at the front of the calendar.
Maybe we are at that point then, because the guy at the calendar said, this is all I've got time for, I've got to get out of here and survive, so I'll just put the year. No
Is it a yearly calendar? Like, once you get to the end of that year, you peel... Because I guess, if you own a calendar store...
Yes.
This is off topic.
Only slightly.
But if you had a calendar store and you knew someone was invading, rather than keeping track of all the days, would you just make a book full of years, and at the end of each year, you just peel it off so you can get on to the next year?
Well, did we ever get to see them peel off any of the years to see what was next in the calendar book?
No, it just kind of played fantastical music and zoomed in on it.
Dun, dun, dun. Actually, I think you're wrong, because if you're in jail, for example, and I know this because of the TV shows, and they're always very realistic.
You could have just said, I know this.
No, but this is in reference to a person in prison.
Yep.
Is so wanting to get through their time in lockdown that they will mark the days, day by day. So I think if you were just trying to survive, you're not going to just be worried about the year.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be celebrating the anniversary of when you got taken over. Oh, happy anniversary, 1 year in captivity. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
Okay, let's move on.
Speaking of being in captivity,
Okay, segue.
Ian and Bauble are still in captivity. Really? But before...
Yeah, okay.
Before we get too deep, we've got the thing to do.
Yes.
So where I show you a nerdy thing I have,
Yeah.
and you either say it's Doctor Who, or it's obviously is or isn't,
Yep.
and then I talk about how awesome it is anyway. And I feel like some people will probably be disappointed about the previous episode, because it was just an hour bookend.
Yes.
But
That's right.
Because I thought it would throw you, and it nearly did.
Well, you really did throw me because I said... Well, no, I didn't think it was a Doctor Who thing, but I did think it was a Harry Potter thing.
Yes, but
So
it wasn't Harry Potter.
It was just a bookend.
I mean, I guess it could have been Harry Potter.
But you're just going to be showing me like a SodaStream water bottle sometime.
Probably.
Guess what franchise this is from?
When I run out of things. I'll probably acquire more things as we go. There's things in the boot of my car that I didn't have 2 days ago.
Okay.
That would be suitable for this.
You know, a murderer could also say the same thing.
But they would probably say something, there's a body in the back of my car. They'd probably say something like that.
Not if they're not trying to get caught. They don't
No, you're right. They would just say, there's something in the boot of my car.
Yeah. Or they wouldn't mention it, probably. What a great start. We have great starts to our episodes.
Yeah. And also, thanks to the people who left 5-star reviews.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
We do really, really appreciate it.
And why not also write a review?
Yes. This episode goes out to the reviewers, baby.
The two of them.
Yeah.
But the more...
Maybe I should say baby because then it's very personal if it's only two people.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Babies? Plural?
The thing...
Anyway, thank you.
The thing, because I was describing the segment of the show...
Oh, yes. Guess the thing.
Guess the thing.
I will guess the thing. Am I allowed to pick it up now?
Yeah, I think at first you'll think it's obvious because it's similar to a previous thing, but it is just a cross stitch that my sister has done.
I was going to say that's the only thing that I could think of as being similar, which makes me think that before I look at it, it is another Doctor Who thing. But you want me to consider that it might not be before I even looked at
Well,
it.
have a look. It's so difficult. Just pick it up. Oh, he's fumbling with it.
So it is another lovely cross stitch.
Mm-hmm.
It is a stripy jacket or jumper. I'm going to guess it's a jacket because there's a red tie and glasses. This is a Doctor Who outfit, isn't it? Unless you happen to love The Invisible Man, that story from like the 1920s.
To be fair, the previous one that you've seen of this, which is a Doctor Who thing, there's also no person in there, and the Doctor in that incarnation is not invisible.
That's true. That's what made me think this might be the same thing.
Ooh, so what's your final answer?
It is a Doctor Who thing.
Of course it is. Look at it.
Yeah.
It's the 10th Doctor's outfit.
Why don't...
He's got pinstripes and glasses.
I know exactly
Does wear
one
pants,
Doctor.
even though they're not in that picture.
So which one...
And that one doesn't wear pants.
None of them wear pants? What iteration does that start to happen?
Third.
Oh. The third one just said third time lucky, eh? It took his pants off.
And then fourth time lucky? Just kept the luck going?
Luck be a lady tonight. Whip the pants off.
Anyway. Yeah, so good, nice work.
Thanks.
I mean, look at it, though. It's pretty.
It doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know the 10th Doctor.
And you're right, I should get things from this Doctor's incarnation.
And me try to guess
A cape. He doesn't have a cape in this story, though. He has a coat.
He has an untenable nature filled with sass.
The little hat he wears sometimes.
I don't think I've seen him wear a hat yet.
It's coming.
Spoilers.
The spoilers.
I know the cloak.
That's a spoiler too,
He
by the
often
way.
saying spoilers
Yeah.
is a spoiler.
Yeah.
Is that because we jump back in time and the Doctor spoils something for somebody?
He spoils someone's tea.
Oh. Do you know spilling tea is what the kids refer to as gossip these days? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm going to use that tomorrow.
Do it.
When someone's talking to me, I was just like, oh, spill the tea.
And I'm not... I don't know if a teacher should say that to a child, though.
No, I'll say it to another teacher.
Okay, I was going to say, that's really awful.
Someone said a
Braden hit me. Oh, spill the tea.
Braden would hit him. Anyway, so just bleep out that name too.
Is that a child you have?
I don't teach anyone called Braden.
Well, I'm not bleeping out the name then. I just made it up.
But maybe one day I will.
Yeah, but I mean, if a kid's called Braden, how well are they going to do in school? I'm really joking. We've just got such plain, boring names that we like to make fun of silly names. Or
Hang on, all of this is bad. This is all bad.
Just more fun.
Now,
creative
Braden's
names.
gone from being just a name, and you've described it as how well they're doing at school, and also it's a silly name.
Well, they to me, they're
So
not
all
a
the Bradens
brainiac.
out there, you're fine.
You're not a brainiac, though. You're creative. Your parents decided that for you when they said, let's call him Braden.
No, stop.
No, I'll cut it all out.
Um,
So yeah, that was a great segment of the thing with, am I guessing the Doctor Who What's It Now?
that's a good name for the segment.
Yes. What's the new segment you want to introduce?
It's a infrequently recurring segment because only when Doctor Who is actually on TV.
Oh, okay.
And
So
it's
this
called
is
Matthew's brief and spoiler-free review of current episode.
Oh, this is new.
So I won't tell you anything because you have to wait to see it in 30 whatever seasons time.
Because I was going to say, this is my job's easy. I haven't seen it, and I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead. It's all you.
And so it was very good. It's the first season back to a new first episode back to a new season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit skeptical of the mini-series nature because we don't normally do that in Doctor Who. It's normally like a 10 to 13 episode thing now, not a 6-episode mini-series.
Interesting.
So I am interested, and a lot of people out there are like, they might not like Jodie Whittaker, but I think she's a very good Doctor. I think she's had some poor episodes sometimes, but she's really good.
Okay.
Not from her, as in from writing.
Okay.
But this was really good, and it really sets up like a lot of things that are going to happen this season. There was one moment where there's like a new person who joins the Tardis team, who's a bit like, who seems to just kind of easily go, oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a bit strange, but I give it... Should I still use the out of 13 thing?
Yeah. Sure. Whatever.
I'll give it Eccleston. A 9 out of 13.
I feel like we've given a lot of 8s and 9s so far.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know when you score something out of 10,
Yeah.
and like 10 is great, and then 9's great,
Well, to me, 10 means perfect.
and 9's great,
Yes.
and 8 is fine. But then when you start to hit 7, like, eh.
See, I don't know if I agree with that, because 5 is dead in the middle. 5 means average.
So if I said to you 6 out of 10,
Better than average.
but if I said 3 stars,
Out of
5.
better than average. Average is 2.5.
See, to me, for some reason, when someone's just like, if someone was like, this is 7 out of 10, I'd be like, meh. But if they're like, I gave it 3.5 stars, I'd be like, that's not bad.
Those both mean the same thing.
I know. Equivalent ratings, fractions, same thing.
This has been thrilling.
You want to start the episode?
Sure. I don't know how much of that I might
So,
cut
the
out.
Daleks' invasion of Earth.
Yeah.
What's the story?
So, Earth
Well, I open the story.
is invaded by the Daleks.
Okay.
So,
Where were we last episode?
last episode we had just escaped from the Reign of Terror, i.e. the French Revolution. So actually, this time he's actually managed to travel, the Doctor I'm talking about, from Earth to Earth again.
Yeah, he just...
But he got it wrong again. He got them in the future.
He got them in the year 2164.
And even Ian says, we don't
That
care if
date
it's...
is disputed. We'll get to that.
Interesting, but also, Ian basically says, we don't care if it's a year too far or a year behind where we were, somewhere around 1964, 65, whatever.
Yeah.
No, they're 200 years in the future.
It is a bit off. Like, if someone took you out of time and showed you a grand old time around this universe,
Yeah.
and you got back and they're like, I overshot a little bit, it's a year or 2 years later, you'd probably be like, I'll take it. But if someone was like, it's 100 years in the future, you might be like, that's basically another planet. Like, what am I supposed to do here?
And then double it. Because it's
To
200 years.
It's like being 2 planets away.
It's like being 2 planets away.
So we actually start this
Anyway.
episode without any TARDIS team. There's a man with a thing on his head,
Yep.
and he walks into a river. And there's a sign beside the river that says, do not dump bodies into the river.
Yes.
So immediately I was like, because I remember watching this,
Yeah.
I didn't quite remember that sign, but going like, oh, well, I guess someone's been dumping bodies in the river. So, robot thing on his head,
Yep.
he goes a bit crazy and he just walks into the river.
See, I was surprised because this is a big contrast to what we just watched, which was a fun, family, happy-go-lucky... We're small. It's a bug's life.
Big sets. Oh, look at this giant matchbox. None of that. We're all on location now. Like, we were all big sets before. Now it's like, no, now we're beside the river.
And a man walks to his death.
Yeah.
We go from a bug's life to, let's just watch a dude who has lost his mind commit suicide.
I would also like to point out, so the box arrives, the TARDIS arrives.
Yep.
And they all get out of the TARDIS.
Yes.
And the Doctor's like... Well, the Doctor's checking his instruments inside the TARDIS first, because he's a bit like... I've got here, at 1 minute 30, the Doctor makes frustrated Doctor sounds.
He does.
Because he's not sure where he's landed.
William Hartnell's really getting into it now.
Oh, yeah. In fact, all of this, like, his acting is like... He's dialed it up. He's like, season 2. Let's crank this up.
Let's do this.
So he's got a lot going on. He's really bringing his energy. And he needs to make sure he doesn't burn out because he'll need to know how to take another holiday.
Yeah, but when he comes back from holiday, he's always good.
He'll be all in.
He was genuinely funny these episodes.
I really liked him.
Yeah.
I think that is what has happened. They've come back from... they've seen it actually be really successful in the first season. And now they've come to season 2. Now, this was hyped up, by the way.
Oh, I can imagine.
The return of the Daleks.
Yeah.
So much so that these episodes, they average at about 12 million viewers.
Okay.
Which, in comparison to the last ones, which were at about 8, like, whew, everyone's like, they're on board.
Yeah.
So, and these are, these haven't been, like, they didn't have to find a VHS tape somewhere with these on them. These have been kept.
Yes.
So they're good, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, like, big. Everyone's ready for it.
Everyone's ready for it.
Were you ready for it?
Yes. I was extremely whelmed.
So they're whelmed,
Yeah.
but not overwhelmed.
Well, the thing is,
No, no one's whelmed.
what do you mean?
Is whelmed an actual phrase?
Well, if you're not underwhelmed or overwhelmed, you're in the middle.
So you were just there for it.
And in fact, and I'm not making this up, that is a word. If you Google it, whelmed does mean something like contentment.
I've got at the 2 minute mark. I'm just moving on.
Yeah.
The Doctor actually does safety checks. So yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that before.
Yes.
That will go away.
Oh.
Because, why check if the air outside is breathable when you can just go outside and try and breathe it?
Why give... Well, I don't know if he gave it to the ship, but why have a ship with all these features if you're not going to use them?
Also, why have a ship that has all these features and not have it tell you the year that you're in?
Yeah. Just get a calendar. You can just get a calendar with the year on it. We've seen it. 1964.
Maybe it develops over time because he does land at points and in the box he'll be like, we're in this year.
Oh, okay.
But at the moment they just seem to look at the TV and try to kind of use that as their guide to what's going on outside. So he looks outside and he thinks it's London.
He sees water, so I guess he guesses it's the Thames.
Yeah. Good. They
That's
go
it.
outside.
No, but they do check. No radiation, good oxygen levels, and something else. There was 3 things. But anyway, they did the proper checks.
They do outside.
They do outside.
They do outside. And I've got... they walk outside. Susan is immediately injured.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, time to have a look around. Tries to climb up a wall.
To have a look
And
what's
some
going
scaffolding or something. And it all falls down. And the bridge that they've landed... Because you land beside the river, and there's a bridge there, and it just collapses on top of the Tardis.
on. Yeah.
So I put at the 5, at that mark, the Tardis is TARDISed. You know the phrase? Because it keeps being crushed, or like stuck, or the lock gets taken. Or, it keeps getting, something happens to it and it cannot be used.
Yep.
Now also... something that I couldn't stop thinking about while they were all just standing around the TARDIS with it collapsed. The
Yes.
stuff collapsed on it.
Yeah.
You can get into that.
Yeah. It wasn't covering the door from what I could see.
No, and I understand it's dangerous, but if one person can get in there, you can move that. Oh, but then I guess if you fly off and there's one person in it, you might not land back in the right place. Imagine just leaving like 3 of them there.
And just flying off.
But then you get the fast return switch, remember that?
Yeah, but it could send you back to year 1. Because
it was broken, the spring was broken.
The spring was... But remember, I looked it up. The fast return lever... And
we Googled it.
The doctor explains. It either takes you back to the last location or takes you back to the beginning of time. He says it's one or the other. I don't think you can pick.
Is it exactly a 50-50 shot?
Well, he said it does this or this. Like, he doesn't know which one it's going to do. So I guess that's 50-50.
Yeah. I hope...
It's one of our highlights.
Listen to it. It
Yeah.
comes up on my Facebook.
Yeah.
As does the 2 Barbara ones where it's like, Barbara likes the men. And then the second one, Barbara still likes the men.
Well, it's an ongoing... Well, hey, that changes this episode.
She doesn't like the men?
Well, Susan
likes the men.
has a romantic interest, which we haven't seen really before.
No, and I wonder what her age is here now, because...
I was going to ask that.
When we started, I did a bit of research.
Yeah.
Carol Ann Ford, when she was first hired, she's 23.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to play Susan like Susan's 15. That's
Because
why she's at school.
She's at school.
Yeah, so... But they could have been travelling for a while. Because he is not 15. Her romantic interest.
No.
So, I wonder if she's a bit older now, or if at the time that wasn't really seen as a problem.
Yeah.
Also, we don't know what species she is, so she could look 15 but actually be 980 or something.
That's true. So she's the definition of a cougar. She's 900 plus years old.
I don't think she is 900 plus. I know the doctor's age vaguely.
I've already said I don't think she's of that species, that I think she's human.
Okay.
Remember?
Well, yeah, I remember.
In which case, she's 16 or 17 and he's maybe 23, 24.
Yeah, so say... Because she hasn't aged up a lot. So say at max, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
So she's 17.
Mm-hmm.
And he still looks, I don't know, like mid-20s?
Early 20s at the earliest.
Yeah.
Good times.
We'll get to him.
Yeah, we will.
I've got at the 5-minute mark, Ian trips on some rubble.
Yeah, of course.
He's just talking to the doctor. The actor, William Russell, trips on rubble.
Oh, you don't think that was...
No, I don't think it was supposed to happen.
Oh.
If you want, I can show you the part where it happens.
I believe you.
But it's funny because he's just kind of like... He's like, oh, I don't want to move anything. And the doctor starts talking, and William Russell just trips on a little bit of rubble. And you can tell because William Hartnell pauses just for like a moment to be like...
Show me, because I'll include the clip in our video.
Alright, you ready?
We're going to need help to shift this. Yes, it's going to be very difficult. But remember, we're in London. Oh, what's that got to do with it? Well, the people, they're all the curious.
Did you see that?
Yes.
And he even looks down at his foot.
To be like, what the hell was that?
And like, again, it's one of those situations where it's probably just cheaper to take that take.
Plus, it's not like something happened that wouldn't happen in that
No,
scene
it
in
kind
real
of
life.
normal, it like makes it appear like a normal situation.
Yeah.
It's not like he fell over onto his face. And...
Or an extra walked into the scene when they shouldn't have. They still think you fix sprained ankles by bathing them in water.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I feel like them and like pools of water, they should really just maybe take a moment. Because the first time... So, in Keys of Marinus, there was like an acid ocean.
Yes.
In the Daleks, there was like a swamp that had a monster in it that ate people.
Yeah.
In the previous episode, because she hurt her ankle...
Oh, yeah.
Barbara hurt her ankle, not Susan.
No.
But Barbara did. And Ian was going to get some water from like... I think he did get some water. But they were tiny.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
They also almost drowned in a sink.
These guys just might need to just take a moment.
Well, they later refer to it... I don't know if it's this episode, but in these first 3 episodes at some point, it's when they meet up with the other survivors.
Mm.
And they say, we need to put a wet bandage on this ankle. And I'll tell you something. You don't have to do it because I've already done it. I have Googled. There is no such thing, even that I could see back in the past, where people thought wetting an ankle or putting a wet bandage on was a good thing.
She's not human.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
Don't they?
Was Barbara? Barbara had it first. She wanted the wet ankle first.
Yeah, maybe it's more of like you would put like ice on it, maybe. Because if the water's cold... River Thames might be cold water.
Do you think people used cold water, then one day a genius went, what if it was just ice?
Yeah.
And that was the advancement of medical...
I reckon we'll get to a point where someone will hurt their ankle on the show and they'll be like, you better put some ice on that. And we'll know that at that point in history, someone figured it out.
It's going to be the most nonchalant thing, but you and I are going to be like, whoa! What an update. Anyway, I thought that was worth mentioning because I still can't believe they're going on about bathing their ankles.
I do have at this same moment...
Hang on, before we move on. This is the quote from Doctor Who about the bathing of the ankle, okay?
Yeah.
He's upset with Susan for getting injured.
Well, that's next.
Okay, well, you say it then. Have you got the quote?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
I have written... You can
You
read
know what I'm
out.
talking about.
But I just wanted to point out, just before that, there's a minute-long conversation between Ian and the Doctor that we just watched a part of.
Yep.
Where the Doctor is impressed with Ian. And Ian's like figuring out things. And he's like, we would have heard traffic or something. Or he's like, I think we should probably, we would. Yeah, he's kind of figuring things out, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, you getting the hang of all of this thing," and so they have quite a nice moment together. I think
they do.
Followed by, now you ready?
Go ahead.
I wonder if this is what you mean, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. What you need is a jolly good smack bottom.
What you need is a jolly good smack bottom. Come on.
Yes. Because he says something about get that ankle bathed, but what you need, and I'm not repeating, you can say it.
A jolly good smack bottom.
Okay. Made me think of Shrek and Donkey.
Alright, you're going the right way for a smack bottom.
Sorry about it.
Well, I've quoted it and timed it at the 7-minute 15 mark because that's the first time he says that.
Oh my gosh, is this a thing?
I think it's one of two because he says it again in a future episode.
As in, not this Doctor, one of the iterations.
No, this Doctor.
Oh, okay.
So it's not too close to the future.
I thought it was going to be like this creepy thing that Doctor Who just loves to always say that.
But it is referenced as like a... probably shouldn't say that. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
So it's almost self-referential. It's like they knew that when this came out, they're like, probably shouldn't talk about smacking a 17-year-old ish girl because she's hurt her foot.
No. Or saying that about your granddaughter in that weird way. And also, Ian laughs a lot at that. You can see him chuckle, and I think it's the actor trying not to mess up the scene by laughing.
Yes, I did notice him smirk. And I think you're right, because the way William Hartnell says it, he's just gone from being like, "Oh, Ian, you've come a long way, my dear boy," to "You need a smack bottom." So to the actor, he's probably like, "Whoa, what the hell?"
Because you think about this, outside of the fictional narrative, if you think about the actors there, this old man is saying that to a grown woman.
Yes,
that's
because
she's
awkward.
23. Yes.
20, probably maybe 24 at this stage, but still.
They must have
early 20s.
They must have all known that was coming up in the script, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be so awkward."
Maybe it wasn't scripted.
Oh, that would be amazing. Please tell me that's in the trivia section.
I don't know. I haven't put a lot of trivia into this one,
right?
Because you still got to watch 3 more episodes, and I don't want to
spoil anything. Agreed.
I've put that there's a lot more location shooting in this. So the previous episode was like obviously in studio with giant sets,
yeah,
and a bit of like inner house stuff going on.
Yeah.
But this is like they're actually in places, and they've got the list of locations on here.
I was going to say there's a lot of like... Obviously, I can imagine if the Daleks were such a big thing at that time, I know they still are, but especially then, seeing the Daleks in those very particular spots for a person who lived in London must have been pretty freaky at the time.
Yeah. So I've got... they actually land at Kew Railway Bridge. So this is from the Tardis wiki, by the way. Mm-hmm. St Catherine's Dock, London. Battersea Power Station, which they do point out. Wood Lane Central Station, London. There's actually a lot of locations. I won't go all the way down the bottom. I did notice in the 3rd episode that we were in, there is Big Ben.
Yes.
And Trafalgar Square.
I love that shot of Big Ben in the background and the Dalek right up close, and you just see the little nozzle looking around trying to see if there's any humans
It's
about.
pretty iconic.
That's a great shot.
That's seen a lot. Queen's Wharf in London, Westminster Bridge. That's the one. They were going across Westminster Bridge.
Yeah.
So you could see all that. We won't spend too much time because they probably will go to some locations that we haven't gone to yet. Not that I think the locations would give away story, but you know.
No, I think the whole point was just to make it a cool thing for people at the time watching this and being like, whoa, that's like, you know.
So, I already mentioned that the first episode, the first story with the Daleks, called The Daleks,
yes,
became a movie.
Yes.
This also became a movie.
Right.
As a sequel to that movie.
In the way that it was told a little bit differently?
Yes.
Okay.
So, no William Hartnell.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing, who, as we all know from Star Wars...
Excellent.
He's Grand Moff Tarkin.
That's Simpsons. Why did I say that?
He's Grand Moff Tarkin.
Oh, this one. Do it.
Do it? That's the Emperor.
Who are you talking about then? I don't know.
The guy who pushes he's like, fire the Death Star. Yeah, the old man in Star Wars Episode 4.
The one who gets choked out by Darth Vader.
No. The one who's like... This one. Oh my gosh.
I know we've done this before, but I still can't remember. Yes.
That guy.
Yes. Doesn't he get choked by Darth
No,
Vader?
he gets blown up on the Death Star.
Oh. No, he doesn't die. But isn't Darth Vader angry
He
with
does
him?
die.
No, but I'm not saying...
No, he doesn't get choked by Darth Vader.
Is that a different
One of the
guy?
other guys gets choked by Darth Vader.
Okay.
And this guy's like, release him. Like,
Okay, so he's there in the room.
He's there in the room.
Yeah. That is the guy
He's
I
there
was
for
thinking
it.
of.
He's like, this is good.
Okay, let's not go there. But I that's the face I pictured. For some reason...
Now, Vader. What this guy needs is a smack bottom.
I'm just like, that would be really awkward. Yeah, I don't think anyone should be talking about smack bottoms when you've got a guy wheezing. It's just weird. Anyway.
But a significant character in Star Wars. He's still in... Like, the
He's a
character
Grand
is
Moff.
still... His character is still in things to this day. He's in The Bad Batch, which is very good. But obviously the actor has passed away, so...
Oh, okay.
Did you not know that?
Well, only like 16 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been dead a while. Well, it's not, no one could say too soon.
1994, I was 4 years... turning 4 years old.
He was 0.
Well, he was whatever he
Dead.
was at 1994.
Yeah, gone. You were born in December. He died in August. When you were born, he was 0 years old.
No. No. Let's move on. So, Ian and the Doctor,
Yeah.
they're like, we'll go, have a look for something that we can remove this debris with.
Yep.
Barbara's like, Barbara has a bit of a look around. I think she goes get some wet bandages for the ankle.
Mm-hmm.
A very effective technique.
A secret technique. It's like a old wives' tale.
It is.
They split up, of course. Like
Well,
you
I
said.
wrote that too. They all go their separate ways. Because they split up even worse than normal because the Doctor and Ian go somewhere and Barbara and Susan then separate from each other.
Yes.
So...
And one of them can't even walk.
Yeah, she's just picked up.
So, so much for protecting her. She just gets picked up and taken.
I thought it was really interesting. So the Doctor and Ian are looking through like a abandoned building,
Mm-hmm.
and they're seen by someone who we don't know yet.
Yep.
They're just seen, and they're having a look around, and they find like a box with a dead body in it,
Yes.
and a guy. And the dead body's wearing like a helmet.
Mm.
And the Doctor talks about how it seems to be able to pick up radio waves, like some sort of personal communication device.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like radio on their head,
Right.
like mobile, like you could just talk to someone.
Good point.
It's like that's interesting.
I didn't think of it that way, but you're right.
But they did have radios back then too.
Yes.
I think that now.
Yes, it's not 17...
96.
70. Yeah, like 94, whatever it is. I just figured they were going to be a mind control device because it just looks like it.
While that's happening, Barbara does see a body floating in the river,
Mm-hmm.
and is like, "Oh, maybe not good."
Yeah.
And she sees the sign that says, "Don't dump bodies in the river." And I think at that moment she puts two and two together and realizes this might not be a good place to be.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is whenever the characters split up, whenever one of the parties comes to a realization about something, the other one does it at the same time.
Yeah, in a different way.
In a different way.
One's seeing a dead body floating in the river, and the other one's finding a dead body in a box.
And a calendar.
And they did find the calendar in that room too.
Mm-hmm.
It's in 2146. And we talked about, at the start of this episode,
2164.
2164. If it was 2164 currently in this year, or if that's just the last time someone made a calendar.
Yes.
Because they've just found a calendar.
So it could be... Is that why it's disputed? Is that why the year is disputed?
Yeah, it's disputed because of that, and I think there's some other stories in the extended universe.
Oh.
Which dispute, not to the extent where it's like, actually it's 1996, but it's still the 2100s, but the years are a little different.
Because it would be a full-time job to be the person whose job it is to make sure that every piece of Doctor Who media syncs up time-wise.
Yeah, for a while.
And then they just went, who cares?
Well,
you can't tell me.
We're going to get to multiple seasons that are just the year that they are in are disputed. And then it becomes a reference within the show. And
the fact that
I can't remember when this happened.
So okay, that's clever how they try to find
I don't think they did it on
way.
purpose. But it's a few seasons down the line. It's when we're in colour.
Oh, okay.
So we're still in black and white for a few more seasons.
Yep.
I've got so Ian and the Doctor hear a noise coming from somewhere else in the building.
Yep.
They have a look around. They walk upstairs, and Ian bashes down a door and he falls outside.
Yep.
And I was like, what a great stunt, because clearly it was done it's in a different location.
Yeah.
Pointed up, so you could tell it wasn't William Russell.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It was very obvious.
But he's still hanging about, and then there's a cut to him reaching his hand up, and then William Hartnell pulling him in.
Yeah.
Which I was not bad for the time, probably.
Yeah, of course.
But then you could tell from when Ian's back inside the building, it's very obvious that that's a completely different location.
Yeah, it looks nothing like it.
It looks like walls made of cardboard.
Yeah.
As opposed to steel beams hanging from steel beams outside.
At a construction site.
Yeah.
Mm. Do you remember this exchange? At some point during all of this happening,
yeah,
when Ian says to the Doctor, "Careful, Doctor," and the Doctor says, "I'm not a half-wit."
He does say that.
Real sarcastically.
Yeah.
And real kind of... He's super sass man in this one.
He's pretty good.
Dr. Sass.
Now, I think at this point, so the Ian and the Doctor go outside and we see our first Dalek saucer, a spaceship, fly across the sky.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Barbara, who she can't find Susan, but she finds someone else who's like, "What are you doing out here? Come with me."
Yeah.
And turns out that they've taken Susan as well. So Barbara's like, "Well, I better go with him." And so it goes from being this place is weird and not quite right, to being we're all in danger.
Yeah.
And so she runs off with him, and there's multiple shots of hiding behind a pillar while there's Robomen around, and then running.
And Robomen is the name of the humans with the helmets on.
Yes. Now I knew
you'd heard of them.
I've heard of them and I've seen them before, and they're in lots of extended universe stuff. In fact, Alex, in fact,
go on.
I just listened to an audio podcast, a audio play from Big Finish called Dalek Universe, where the Robomen are in that as well.
Oh, okay.
So very interesting.
So they're not just because I thought they could have been a one-off for this storyline.
No, they recur.
Okay.
Yeah. Lots of things recur, even if they don't come back into the TV show. They'll get used in those Big Finish audio plays.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about them, and I'll tell you when we get to the modern Doctor Who, so you will have forgotten this, but a lot of them, at one point, there's a certain moment in the show where those radio plays basically are considered canon. Right. They go, they're all real too.
Oh, so it's really obviously stated in the show.
Yeah.
Oh.
And sometimes they're referenced.
Yeah.
An adventure that he might have had in a radio play is referenced on the show.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. There are some that their canosity is put into question because an event occurs on the show that then disputes something that happened in a radio play.
Right.
But I think it's also considered that he does also mess with time.
I was going to say...
So that thing could have happened, and then time travel happened, and that thing no longer happened.
Well, does the idea of multiple universes exist within this story of Doctor Who? Because then everything could be canon.
Oh, like parallel universes?
Parallel universes,
Well, I think we're going to get to them very soon.
Well, then if they exist in the show in some way, then anything's canon. It's fine then.
Yeah.
But
That's the thing. So amongst diehard fans,
Whovians?
it's all canon.
Right.
And so it's all like wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
So if something happens, to me, as in my fanicity, I say that it's all canon.
Okay.
Unless the show, the show is like the main source of canon.
Yeah.
So if the show disputes something that happened elsewhere, then the show overrides that.
Okay.
I'm not saying the other thing didn't happen. I'm just saying that maybe it's like there's a comic book that I own.
Mm.
There's a comic book that I own that shows the 8th Doctor doing something very specific, but then that's not considered canon because it's not referenced in quite a direct way to something that happens in the show that's very similar.
Okay.
So
it's done in such a way that only one of those things could be real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But you would say maybe that did happen, but time travel, now that has been erased from history or something.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's we're gonna have an episode one day where we just talk about time travel.
Yes.
And how weird it is.
Yes.
Because, yeah. So, but Barbara and Susan, they do escape.
They do an escape.
And they end up in a group of like resistance fighters, I guess.
Hidden
freedom fighters.
Are they hidden underground or hidden in some factory or something?
I don't think they are underground. I think they say that.
Maybe it's an old train station or something.
Yeah.
Something.
I don't think they reference directly where it is.
No.
But they arrive and people are like, because obviously if you're part of a resistance group, you've got to have a use. So they say to Barbara, they're like, "What can you?" This is something else I wrote down. So this is the first appearance of, is it David?
David Campbell.
David Campbell. Okay, so David Campbell is like, "What can you do? Can you cook?" And Barbara's like, I can get by, I think is what she says.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, that will do, because beggars can't be choosers, I guess, in a Dalek war."
Yep.
And then he says to Susan, his first words to Susan are like, "What can you do?" And she says, "Eat."
Yeah.
That's her only use, apparently.
I thought that was really clever. I wrote that too. I made a note of that. Interchange. Because I feel like the writing and the dialogue in these episodes is it's gotten much more refined.
Yeah.
Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, I think they're... Because, like you said before, they're obviously building towards something.
Right.
So they want to make sure everything's, like, on point.
Yeah.
And so that exchange is quite good. Now, something I thought about, and which I don't think will give anything away to you, but I was like... Because when they mentioned his last name of Campbell, it made me go like, the Doctor doesn't have a last name.
Yeah.
He's just the Doctor. But Susan has a last name.
Does she?
Because in the first episode, when Ian and Barbara are just regular school teachers and they're talking about this student who has fantastical knowledge of everything, they call her Susan Foreman.
Mm-hmm.
Because Foreman
is the place,
is the junkyard that the TARDIS was in.
Right.
So I was like, oh yeah. Well, I remembered her name. I remembered the name of the junkyard. I was like, put those two things together. That's interesting.
In relation to David Campbell.
Yes.
Campbell soup.
Campbell soup.
Is that what you're referencing?
Yes. No.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't think you'll know yet.
So I think what I'm deducing is something very significant happens with the guy called David Campbell, and we find out maybe that's not his actual last name.
Yeah. We'll go with that. And then, well, you'll find out because he's in the next 3 episodes anyway. So the thing that I'm thinking about, this time next week when we do this, you'll be like, I see now.
Right, what you were saying.
And then I'll tell you, because he. The reason why I'm so keen about his arrival is he'll become a more significant character. So.
Oh, I see.
So, but you'll see that in the next 3 episodes.
Right.
I will tell you how, and you can't guess.
You don't want me to guess? That's okay.
Well, otherwise, because if you guess and I do a face, you'll be like, I'm right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to put my shirt over my head and guess. Ready?
I'm going to drink some coffee.
I'm going to guess that he... Is he the guy that... Sorry. I'll put my shirt back down. Is he the guy that is talking to Susan and there's a romantic connection there?
Yes, he is.
Okay,
yes,
then I know what's going to happen. And it's the fact that he becomes one of the crew members because she already has offered that to him as an option. Okay, and I'm looking at reaction, I've got my eyes closed, but that's what I've guessed. I already guessed that, so don't worry, you didn't spoil that for me if that's what it is.
And then I think that will be good, because you only have to wait 3 episodes' time to figure out
if that's right or not.
And then we can talk about it next week.
Yeah. I
didn't give any reaction.
No. And I didn't write it down, but I do remember that conversation. So you saying that now, that makes sense anyway. You haven't spoiled it for me if that's what it is.
No, and I think I was just mentioning the Susan's name thing because I don't think we've ever talked about that on this show either. About
Foreman.
The fact that her last name is Foreman.
I thought we did in the first episode.
Maybe.
I don't know, that was 10 episodes, 11 episodes ago, whatever.
11 episodes ago. Wait, is this episode 11? This is episode 12.
12.
11 was the Giants. Back to the Doctor and Ian, and they're outside, and they're like... Ian kind of puts it all together finally. Like, he had some idea of things that were going on. He's like, it's so quiet, and, like, we're by the river, and, like, things should be happening on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly they're surrounded by Robo-Men. And, the Doctor and Ian, like, they look around... one of the Resistance people, I think David is actually there.
He's the one that was spying on them before.
Yeah, to try and I think he's there to try and help them, but then he also sees that they're surrounded by Robo-Men.
Well, he's whispering to them, run, but they don't hear him.
No. I don't know if he's whispering to them. I feel like, wouldn't the Robo-Men hear him then?
Oh, well, I watched it with the subtitles.
But I think he just says, run.
Oh, like he's kind of willing them to do it?
Yeah, yes.
No, but you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Without saying it.
Please run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so they try and run in one direction, there's more Robo-Men. Try and run in another direction, there's more Robo-Men. And then Ian's like, you know how we just talked about how the water's like plague infested? Yeah. It could be plague infested.
Well, they've never had a good experience with water.
Let's get in that water. But I guess if all options are out... and you only have a river to jump into, why not? And
acid water might be a quicker death.
I think we established that it wasn't acid water.
No,
but plague-ridden.
Oh, plague-ridden. Well, I was going to say, if it was acid water, just do that.
But it's not acid water. So they turn around to jump, and out of the water, which really I think they would have hesitated to do this because of like those Dalek things to build. Like, you don't want to ruin those things.
Right.
But it just rolls out of the water and you're like, yes.
That looks great.
It was pretty good.
Very, very good shot.
A slight bit of trivia. So last time that we watched an episode with the Daleks,
yep, they
built I think it was 4 Daleks, and after that episode...
Because they had blow-up ones as well.
Yes, they make a reappearance.
Oh, okay.
So when they did this episode, I've got more trivia about it later, but when they did this episode, they built 2 more. So they've got 6 in total.
That are proper movable ones.
That are proper movable ones. If it's 5 and someone wants to correct me, that's fine, whatever. But there's definitely the 2 blow-up ones still. And that's the end of episode 1.
It is. And I love that once again they've landed mid-story. Like, this calamity has already happened.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just happen upon it by landing in 2164. Episode 2. Also known as
Daleks.
The Daleks.
Which is the name of the first story that Daleks in. The first episode we didn't mention is called World's End.
Yes.
Which I think is meant to be... I think it's also... I was reading the trivia. It's also like a location, a filming location.
Oh.
It's called World's End.
Right.
So they were like, we'll just throw that in.
Yeah.
The Daleks. So I've put the Return of the Daleks exclamation point.
Yes.
So very exciting. And
I'm no longer just whelmed.
You now overwhelmed?
I am now slightly more whelmed.
The Daleks are talking to their Robo-Men, and they're like,
basically minions.
what's going
now.
on here? And the Robo-Men are like, we don't know, we found these people. The Dalek is like, get these two to our ship. And so they take them back to their ship.
Yep.
But the Doctor has quite like an interaction with the Dalek before they go off.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a bit like... Because last time, he kind of did a bit of an outsmart of them. You know how they had that first interaction of like... Their first meeting?
Yep.
And they had that long conversation and figuring out like who each other are and what's going on. And this one, the Doctor tries to be a bit like... You know, who are you to be like? Who do you think you are? And the Dalek says, "We are the masters of Earth."
Yeah,
and then has none of it, and it's just like, I'm not talking to this weird old man.
Yeah,
and they just take him back to the ship.
That's right.
And I also quoted that, "We are the masters of Earth," because that's also a recurring thing.
I was going to say, I don't know why I know. Maybe I've seen it quoted or referenced, but I knew that's a thing that's not like a one-off statement.
And I'm pretty sure they use that in the movie too.
Right. Interestingly though, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong in this, doesn't the Doctor deduce that the last time they met was actually in the future?
Got that too. At the 6-minute mark.
Yeah.
Are these Daleks from their past? As in from the Daleks' past, as opposed to like when they met them in the future. Because the Ians and the Doctor, because I put here, Hoover's always remember. Because they had to reference the fact that in the last time they saw them, they couldn't leave the city.
Yeah.
And they had to be on metal for their static electricity system to work.
And the fact that they look more advanced.
Yeah. And so they kind of... Well, I think they look the same. Oh, one of them looks quite...
They have like
a solid,
but they have an extra like plate on the back.
Yeah,
I thought they looked way more advanced.
And so the Doctor has to kind of explain that by being like, "This is their like a invasion party. They have to look like that. They don't have access to just drive around on metal.
Yeah.
So they have the dish on their back that I guess they have to be within certain range of their spaceships to then have power to move.
Right.
Like wireless charging. From a great distance.
Up. Yeah.
Probably releases a lot of radiation to the surrounding area.
Because I was thinking, what would have been cool? And I know this is impossible because the first time they had the Dalek story, they didn't know how big it was going to be. Imagine if in the first story arc ever with the Daleks, when they're having an exchange with the Doctor, the Daleks later talk and say to each other, is this the one they talked about that they met on planet Earth in 2164?
Yeah, I think the reason why they... the Doctor even mentions that these could be like from thousands of years prior. And I guess if it was so long ago in their past,
yeah,
they wouldn't think that he would be the same person.
Right. They have to make that distinction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, it's not like they met him 5 years earlier. It was many years earlier.
They're like, that mad doctor's back, it's over.
And in the previous one, when the Doctor mentions time travel, they basically dismiss it.
Yep.
So even in this so far back, they don't have access to that kind of knowledge about space and time. They're just flying through the galaxy, killing planets and whatever.
Right.
Or whatever their plan is for Earth.
Yeah.
So it's good to kind of see that build still happening though. The Doctor now has has a little bit of the upper hand because he knows all about them.
Yeah.
And how they operate, and they have no clue who he is.
Yes. It's a clever story idea.
Yeah.
I thought the reason... See, it makes sense now that they're explaining the potential continuity errors if they didn't go over the idea of this is an invasion party, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because when I first watched it, I thought the whole reason they were banging all of this stuff into place was so that a big twist would happen where it's like, oh, actually... that was the past and this is the future.
Well, I can't remember.
Right.
But that could happen.
They're kind of setting it up as you think it's this, but then actually...
Yeah.
And then they go, we know who you are. We remember what you did to us.
Well, there's another... There'll be a story very soon where they go, we're aware of you. Because obviously, that's not a spoiler.
No. Obviously, there's a point where they... consider each other mortal enemies. Arch enemies, whatever.
In that scene, when they're by the side of the spaceship, that's where you see the two blow up ones. They're kind of in the background. So I put that the blow up the fake Daleks make a return. And there's a couple other people that they've caught there as well. I've put at 7 minutes 20, what a daring escape, where one of them just decides to try and run and is immediately stopped by a Dalek, and then he's like, now what? And then they just shoot him.
Yeah.
And we see that effect again of the inverted colour thing.
Yeah, the black and white. That looks... I know it's real rudimentary now.
Yeah.
But it looks good.
And, is often... is done differently, obviously, in modern day... But I think they try and keep that same sense of that invertedness.
Yep. That's cool.
Now, while that's happening...
Yeah.
Susan and Barbara are with their resistance people. And Jenny...
Yep.
Is we should check out that ankle. Or is a bit show me that ankle, because she seems very...
Let's get a wet bandage on it.
Yes. Have you done anything about the ankle? And Barbara's like, we just got here. And then Susan, she touches the ankle and Susan immediately is like, ah. And I just put here, maybe stop whinging.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously in the middle of a apocalyptically bad war, and your ankle hurts, and the people in this room have lost all of their family.
You're oh, my ankle.
Just maybe tone it down a little bit.
And Jenny was having nothing of it because she's screaming.
And she's just like, oh, your ankle.
It's not broken.
And she's like, you can still use your hands. I thought that was funny too.
Get to work.
Get to work. Child.
Yep.
And there's this kind of little thing again, like in the previous episode with the giants, where they both figure out, where Susan and the Doctor are explaining to Ian and Barbara respectively, this is what's going on, and there's cuts between them.
The two conversations.
This one has cuts between David and Craddock, the man that Ian and the Doctor meet when they're held by the Daleks in their spaceship.
Yeah.
About what's going on.
Yeah.
So David is explaining who the Robo-Men are, and so is Craddock, and it kind of cuts between the two. And
that was clever.
We learn about the fact that there's not actually many Daleks on Earth.
Yeah.
There's obviously they've probably got ships all over Earth, But to do their kind of like busy work, they've been attaching like control devices to people's heads and calling them Robo-Men. And that design also persists for a while.
Right.
And then it gets more advanced.
Yeah, I figured as time went on, and they can do more, they do.
Yeah. The Daleks try... So the Daleks kind of figure out, because they're listening to all the conversations that Ian and the Doctor are having, that the Doctor must be like a clever person.
Yeah.
And so they go, well, we'll test this. And I know the Doctor is very dismissive of Craddock.
Yes.
Because Craddock is kind of a bit of like a, woe is me, we'll never escape, we're going to have things in our heads for the rest of our lives, whatever. But the Daleks put a box in their cell, which is like a little magnet and keys. Like, there's a key in the box.
Yeah.
Basically.
A glass case.
Not a traditional key. It's like a magnet.
Yeah.
And they've been given the other magnet to try and kind of guide the key out of the box.
Right.
And while the Doctor and Ian sound clever about trying to get it out, and they have a bit of discussion about, well, Daleks don't actually have hands, so they must use magnets to like open doors and do things.
Yeah.
Craddock says, why would they put this in here for us though? Which I think was maybe the most sensible thing said.
Yes.
And then the Doctor is like, none of that. And then to be fair, his dismissiveness is more justified later on.
Yeah.
Because Craddock is just like not useful whatsoever.
He gets real sassy in this part of the episode.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my favourite line is when the Doctor says to... Is it Craddock, he said?
Yeah.
And...
Craddock says... So... Sorry, you go. I have a quote here.
I think it's probably going to be the same quote. Where Craddock says something about... See, the problem is I didn't write what Craddock said.
Well, I got that Craddock... They take... Craddock's like, you're never going to be able to get this. Look at you two idiots trying to figure out this box thing.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, the Doctor and Ian get the key out of the box. And he's like, oh my gosh, you did it. And the Doctor's first line to him is he says, take that and shut up. But he says it in such like a dismissive way. He's not angry or anything. He's just like, yes, take this and shut up.
Yeah. I had just before that the Doctor saying to him, because Craddock's basically saying something about either he not being smart enough to get out of here or the group not being smart enough to get out of here. And the Doctor says to him, well, if they had to deal with a man... Oh, he says, dear boy.
He always says dear boy.
Dear boy. If they had to deal with a man of your talents, they need hardly fear, need they?
He does say that.
Basically saying, you're so dumb.
It's quite a good line.
Yeah. He's very sassy.
Now, they get out with their keys, magnet keys. They open the lock.
Yeah.
To be immediately caught.
Yeah.
Which we saw coming because the Daleks did put the box in there because they wanted to test, I guess, his intelligence.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Because I guess if he's intelligent and they put the helmet thing on him, they've got a smart one.
But they must have known that he'd be able to open the actual door. Or do you think they went, whoa, this guy's really smart? He not only solved the puzzle, he used it to open the door and try to escape.
But maybe I don't understand the technology of the Daleks. But wouldn't you just put a helmet on all of them and then work out who was smart?
Yeah, because they've got them captured.
Yeah, just put the thing on all of them.
It was very easy for them to maneuver the Doctor into the device they wanted to use to measure him.
Yeah.
So it's not like they don't have the manpower with these Robo-Men to force these people to do certain things. So it wouldn't have been hard to put the helmets on them.
Yeah. Now, while that's happening...
Just quickly.
Yep.
You know, at the start of this story arc, you spoke about the fact that the Doctor seems to really admire Ian now.
Yeah.
I think you really notice that when you see how badly the Doctor treats this other guy.
Oh, yeah.
How dismissive he is of people that he thinks are stupid. You realise then, wow, he must really admire Ian.
Yes. Because he doesn't think he's stupid.
That's right.
So back at the Resistance base...
Yep.
They're listening to a transmission, and I've quoted this as well.
Yeah.
So the Daleks talk about how they, if they don't surrender, they'll just kill everyone.
Yeah.
And so they say, the males, the females, and descendants. Like, they'll just kill everyone. Which obviously puts a dampener on the Resistance people.
Yes.
But luckily, there's a man in a wheelchair whose name I didn't write down. Did you write it down?
I don't think I did. I know exactly, obviously, who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name. If you scroll down to...
There's Tyler, who was the guy that carried Susan. Dortmund. That's it. Dortmund, who's a scientist of some kind. We've seen him earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
But he's like, I've developed this bomb.
Yeah.
And it will break through a Dalek. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets everyone excited because they're like, we finally got one bomb.
And when we say bomb, we mean a very small glass ball.
Yeah.
Like it's a bomb that you can
It looks like a
carry
Christmas
and throw.
ball.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's explosive.
And much bigger.
Yeah, we'll never see that. And then, so they start to plan an attack, right? So they think, we're not sure how to do it because we won't even get close. We have to be able to throw this at them.
Because they're planning to take on the
Dalek saucer.
The saucer, where the saucers are landing.
Yeah. Because they think if it's a significant enough location, that will inspire, I guess, other resistance groups to rise up.
Yep.
And I guess if they can develop more of that bomb, which I'm not sure how he made it.
No.
But I guess they must be stuck somewhere with good resources because he made one bomb.
Yeah, he's just carrying it around casually.
And he's like, we blow up this location and the world will rise up.
Yeah.
And so, but then they're very quickly disheartened because they're like, well, we won't even get close. And then Barbara has the idea. She's like, well, you've got the helmet things. Just pretend you're the Robo-Men.
Yeah, you've got dead guys all around you wearing these helmets. Put them on.
And it wasn't said, but another clever thing that they kind of decide to do.
By the way, Barbara's the hero again. I said it last time. And
before they were like, who is this woman? Can she cook? And now they're like, oh, she's got good ideas.
Oh, a woman with brains. What? In 1964? Oh, actually,
2164.
They're surprised in 2164.
Well, Jenny seems pretty with it.
I think they're just scared of her because she's very just like...
Do what I say. I have no emotions.
Yeah, get on with it.
So Barbara's like, put the helmets on.
Jano.
But something that they didn't say in that meeting...
Yeah.
I think that they must have come up with was they're probably going to get found out.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now.
So we'll need a distraction to kind of cover before they get fully found out.
Because the idea is they're going to have someone pretending to be a Robo-Man, bringing in other humans as prisoners to sneak into the ship.
Yeah.
But how are they going to distract them?
They're just going to throw things at them.
The bombs.
The bombs. Do they throw the bombs?
Yes, because there's explosions everywhere. I remember the subtitles just being like, explosions.
So the Robomen... Okay, So Robomen rock up with fake prisoners. Fake Robomen with fake prisoners.
Yep.
The Daleks like, where are these people from? And they're like, Sector 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have Robomen in Sector 4. First of all, Are you saying there's one part of the city that you don't have anyone looking at?
Yeah, let's keep that in mind.
Yeah,
if
just
we need to
lock that in.
escape,
Yeah.
let's get to Sector 4.
And they're starting to figure it out. So nearby, Susan, Barbara, and David start throwing a couple bombs out, and then things go a bit bananas.
Yes.
And people are running around all over the place. Some people make it into the ship. Some people, there's like shots being fired. The Daleks are shooting people. It's actually quite a good, like, cut from camera to camera
Action scene.
of things happening.
Yeah.
And part of you's like, what's going on? But it's also not too confusing.
Yeah.
Because so Barbara kind of runs in away from Susan, and David's like, no, she's doing a thing. We gotta go. So Susan and David run off.
Yep.
And Barbara runs towards the spaceship.
Yes.
And inside the spaceship, they get into this because some of the action is inside the ship.
Yes.
But I think it's Tyler who finds Ian and Craddock.
Oh, because he's just breaking all the prisoners
He's just
out.
breaking them all out.
So that includes the Doctor and Ian.
Yeah, but the Doctor's been taken away to be a Roboman, remember?
Oh, that's true.
So Ian escapes, but doesn't fully escape. Because he and Barbara see each other, but then I think the Daleks kind of start to get back into their formation.
Get back in control of the situation.
Yeah, and Barbara runs out, and Ian runs in. And during this moment, because there's a lot of things happening, one of the Resistance people has taken the Doctor.
Yes.
And Ian's gone to the room where the Doctor was and hidden in the floor.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I think we've started to move into the next episode.
And the thing is, the reason that the other guy who's rescuing prisoners is carrying the Doctor is because he's being drugged out of his brain.
Yeah, sorry, that's the start of the next episode.
Right.
Because there's still explosions and effects happening.
Day of Reckoning.
A day of reckoning.
No. Day of Reckoning.
It is just Day of Reckoning.
I just wanted to be painful. Because I always check that.
So,
because you know what they do? The story arcs always seem to be the Daleks, the blah blah blah, the Giants, the blah blah blah. But then the episode titles never have that in them. I don't know why they've done that.
and sometimes the DVDs, the novelizations are released as Doctor Who and the whatever it is. So it's like Doctor Who and the Dalek Invasion of Earth.
And the Chamber of Secrets.
Doctor Who and the Land of Giants. Not the Chamber of Secrets.
And the Hot Old Woman.
So... No, stop it. So David...
We've got video proof, my dude.
So now, at the start of the last episode, we don't know where the Doctor is at this point. We find out that Ian's on the floor.
Yep.
Barbara...
And what we mean by that is he's hiding in the grating under the surface you'd be walking on.
Yeah.
So he's like hidden underneath.
The Doctor... We're not sure where he is. But Barbara, Tyler, and... what was his name? Dirtman? Dortman, Barbara,
Some of these
Tyler, and Jenny are back at base with a smattering of sort of other survivors.
Yep.
And they're lamenting, like, the bombs didn't work, we've lost so many people who are either dead or captured. Jenny's a bit like, we've got no chance, we should just, you should move off.
Yeah.
And Tyler's a bit like that too. But then Dortman is like, I can do this again.
I'm so close.
I'm so close. We can't stay here, but we can go to, they say, the Civic Transport Museum, which is where there's another group of resistance or a former base of some kind.
Right.
So they try and go there, and there's some nice shots of like Barbara pushing him through his wheelchair, and it's just parts of London.
Yeah.
I think it's even cool that it's the Civic Transport Museum. Like, that's obviously something in London.
Yeah.
And they're like, now it's the base for these resistance people.
You know what I was thinking too is, I mean, Barbara is still the hero.
Well, I was amazed that he was like, because they're all like, we should go to somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And she's probably concerned about, like, where's the doctor, where's Ian, where's Susan? But she's like, bang up to be like, I'll help you build a bomb.
Yeah.
Like,
and I will push you in your wheelchair while running for kilometres.
She does say, because Jenny's like,
Jenna,
we're going to be slower.
Trying to push you along.
Push him along. And she's like, he wouldn't stand a chance without us.
Yeah.
So...
she's the hero.
Yeah, it's nice.
And the other thing I was thinking was, that would have been a really tiring day as an actress. Like, okay, we're going to take 20, run, and just pushing a wheelchair.
It wouldn't have been take 20. It would have just been the one take.
That's true, because they don't care, do they? About, like, small...
expensive.
Yeah, it's too expensive to reshoot.
But during that...
I was worried that they were going to stack it, though, because she's really gone for it.
And they're going around London, and this is where we get the montage of different parts of London with Daleks moving about.
Yes.
Which I thought was quite cool. There's the Dalek in front of Big Ben and Westminster Bridge, and it's all very iconic scenes. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's very cool. The David...
There's too many important characters with "the" in their name that we're just like...
this is actually a bit earlier than that, but it kind of happens at the same time.
Tell me about
David and
David.
Susan are hiding, and
they are having a little moment.
So he's kind of holding her because people are dying in the background. You can hear them like screaming and whatever.
And you can almost hear the Daleks chasing people down and going, stop, stop.
And they're like, don't kill me, and then they get killed.
Yeah.
But they have a moment where she's like, I can't wait to get it away from this place. And she's like, you can come too, like, we can make sure you're safe. And he's like, no, this is my planet. I don't just leave. And she's like, I love traveling around. And he's like, you got to find somewhere to call home eventually. You can't just run around all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a nice moment of, like, they haven't really had that, like, maybe she's never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Of, like, I've just been traveling from place to place, and someone's like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
So you've got nowhere to call home.
That's right, you don't belong anywhere.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is, because when Barbara and Ian are talking to people, and the Doctor, they always try to make it as clear as possible that they're humans.
Yeah.
Especially the Doctor, like, oh yeah, we're from the South, we've travelled here.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, Susan has just told this guy, I'm from a different planet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We've never seen... There was no scene of them kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
But this scene kind of shows that they've had conversations. Because he knows that she's arrived here. Probably doesn't fully understand how.
Yeah.
But from whatever time and place she's from, she's arrived here, and that's her life.
And he's clearly just on board with it and accepted it.
And I think the other thing is that can might say something about the time that they're in. Like maybe 2164, maybe someone popping in from a different time. Maybe that is par for the course.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
So maybe that's just what happens.
Yeah.
So they have that moment, and he's like, we should go up north and meet other resistance people. And then they have found the Doctor. So someone brings the Doctor. I can't remember which character.
I don't think he's like a super... Well, we can't really say he's not a super main character because he did rescue the Doctor. Baker. Carrying the Doctor. The drugged Doctor.
Yeah, because he was being robotized.
Yeah.
And puts him down and he's like... Baker... Right, now that I know his name.
Yes.
He has a very interesting interaction with David. He's like, I'm going to go because it's not safe here. And David's like, well, I'm going to go join some other resistance people, but, you know, take my flask,
Yeah.
because you might need some supplies. Because where you're going, there's not many supplies, and where I'm going, there's supplies.
Right.
And as soon as Baker leaves, I don't know how he didn't see the Dalek,
I've written this down.
but he walked down that corridor. It's like it'd be like if someone was like looking at their phone and not watching where they're going,
Yeah.
and then they suddenly almost walk into a Dalek.
Yeah. It's like, you know, previous episodes we've talked about how if Barbara or someone is hiding in a room and a person comes to look for them, they'll look everywhere except that one spot, and it just makes no sense. You see the Dalek for about 5 seconds, and he continues running up to it before he stops right in front of it and goes, "Oh no, there's a Dalek."
But also, if you were in the middle of like a war zone,
Yes.
you would be hyper alert.
Yes.
Like, you'd be very afraid and like alert of anything that could be potentially something that will kill you.
Like the main enemy.
Like the main enemy. But they find him and they're just like, kill him. And they just kill him.
It's just instant.
Like a second after they leave.
Yes.
So
It's funny because as he's running off, you're thinking, "Oh, I wonder where he's going and what that story's going to be." Boom, dead.
yeah.
Also, those garlic, I don't know if it's a gun, but whatever weapon it is that they show up close shooting,
Yeah.
I do not like how that looks.
The
It's like,
Dalek gun.
it's like a tongue shooting out.
Well, we've seen that in the first one.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's
didn't like that
I think
at
it's
all.
to show something coming out of it.
Without it showing like a shot.
Yeah, because you wouldn't see. Like, it's not a gun, so it wouldn't bang.
Mm-hmm.
But they also aren't at the point where they can do like a laser beam shooting out.
Yeah, I get why they had to do it, but it looked a bit weird. You don't think?
Nah.
Okay, move on.
So Barbara, Jenny, and Dortmund. I keep forgetting his name.
I think that's right.
So for starters, the Daleks have decided they're just gonna that we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
We're killing everyone.
Yep.
And Dortmund is like, I can make this bomb, and they're in their new location, and they found it abandoned. Like, whoever was saying that the resistance place there has long moved on.
It's like a clothing store.
Yeah. Well, it's a museum.
Oh, sorry, museum. But there's a mannequin there wearing clothes and...
I thought that was funny. There's a funny bit with that later.
Yes.
But Dortmund's made another bomb, so there's obviously supplies there of some kind.
Yeah.
And he's like, this one will work, because I just didn't understand the metal that the Daleks were made out of before. The Dalekanium.
Whereas, what's changed?
Well, obviously he's done something to the bomb so it can now break through Dalekanium.
No, but what I mean is, how has his understanding of the metal changed since their last interaction? Nothing's happened.
I don't know. But he does say the name of the metal.
Yeah.
So they obviously were aware of it.
So that is what it's called.
It is called Dalekanium.
Okay.
Which is probably a name that's given to it, not from themselves.
Right.
I don't think the Dalek... They do end up calling it Dalekanium. But I don't think initially they would have given the name Dalekanium to their own metal.
Right, but it's just what they know it's now called, so they go with it. So this is the first time it's used.
Yeah, it's the first time they say Dalekanium. I put an exclamation point.
Right.
17 minutes 40.
There you go.
I've got Barbara's making tea.
Yep.
Because she was making tea while he's like, look at this bomb. By the way, here's all my notes. Because I'm just going to slow you down. So why don't you just go... You've got a friend called the Doctor who's clearly a scientist. He can check this all out.
Yeah.
And so Barbara's like, no, you're coming with us.
Yes.
I'll just go grab Jenny and we'll go. And she leaves.
Yes.
And then he leaves. He leaves his notes there.
But is this before or after the Daleks come in looking for them?
No, this is before.
Okay.
Because he goes out and then they come in.
Right.
Remember? Because that's kind of what brings them...
Yeah, that makes sense. For some reason I thought it was the other way, but you're right. Because he goes to try this new bomb.
Yeah, it's successful. Blows them all up.
Does nothing.
Does nothing. He gets up, though, I thought he was going to have like a bit of a... I thought he was going to give like a bit of a speech.
Yeah.
And be like, you'll never destroy the human spirit or something. Something like...
He like... Because he's in a wheelchair. He like... And he's obviously got his legs strapped, so he must have something wrong with his knees or...
Yeah.
So he's like stumbling forward towards them in this defiant sort of...
He gets up, he pushes the chair away.
There should have been a speech.
And there's like... It rolls back quite, you know...
I was wondering...
This guy's going to do something.
Well, the way it even rolled back and stopped, I was like... I wonder if they kept shooting it to get it that perfect. Because it looks really good.
It does look good.
Yeah.
And he throws the bomb. And it doesn't really do anything. It releases some gas or something.
Yeah.
And they're all like, whatevs, and they just kill him.
Done.
And then they enter the museum. Because they're obviously like, he came out of that museum.
Yeah.
So they go in. And Barbara and Jenny hide behind... I think it's like a car or something.
Yeah.
And there's a mannequin of a police officer without its head, mind you. And the Dalek's like, what are you doing? And I was like, you're smarter than this.
Yes.
Like,
You created robot zombies to do your work.
you've travelled across space. I thought it would be more funny if he was like, if there was two of them and they're like, we should make this one a Robo-Man and take it back to the ship. I was like... Surely they know. It's missing a head.
Well, what if one of them said it sarcastically, like, let's make this one a zombie?
I would just
And
wish
the
there was
other
two
one goes-
there, and he was...
The other one just goes,
No, I thought it'd be funny if one's like, what are you doing here? And there's another Dalek that's just like, it's a mannequin, you idiot. Just really flatly, but with the...
Where do you think his head is?
But anyway, the Dalek has a look around and leaves.
But I have a question about that specific spot
Yeah?
in the narrative. He says that he looks at the thing that he thought was a person,
I said, sorry, yes, go.
and then he says, subcultural.
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 Yes.
Question. Is that because it was a mannequin? Or is that because it was still? Because I thought, imagine if the way to get away from the Daleks was just to stand still.
You could just pretend you're a mannequin.
Because that's what I thought. I thought that's what it was building to. Barbara was going to go, did you see that? It thought that was not a person because it didn't move. Maybe if we don't move, it can't tell that we're a person.
I understand what you're saying, but that's not how Daleks work.
Well,
but
no.
unfortunately, that might be how that Dalek works.
No. I realise now that's not what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, for a moment, I thought, is that going to be the big twist? Is all you have to do is not run away from them, and they won't realise you're there.
Yeah.
But no.
No.
The end.
I forgot to put this Lone Man versus three Daleks. That's the shot that was outside. Him standing and there's three Daleks there.
Yes.
It still looks quite iconic.
It's a great shot of behind him as he stands up in defiance against the Daleks and throws the...
Yeah. I still think a speech would have been nice.
Or a bomb that worked.
So the Doctor and Susan and David are walking somewhere. And the Doctor says, I never thought walking was so difficult.
Yep.
I was like, by now you know. Because you've walked through the jungles of Skaro in the Daleks, and you had to walk through like snow in Marinus. No, wait, he didn't do that. He was on holidays.
He was on holidays then. But he did have to climb up a giant pipe.
He did have to climb up a giant pipe.
Up and down multiple
Well, technically
times.
the pipe wasn't giant.
No, that's true. It wasn't a land of giants. It was the...
Tiny people in a normal world.
I suppose that's not quite as catchy a title, is it?
I think, it was like the Micros or something. Some other world some other title. It was in trivia last week.
Oh, right.
We'll never know.
Nope. Not look back.
And so him and Susan are having a chat, and Susan's like, we should go north to the Resistance, like David is. Doctor's like, no, we go back to the Tardis, and she's like, we can't actually get into the Tardis, even though we can very easily. And
I just thought she wanted to stay with David, and she was making excuses.
I think she wants David to go with them.
Yeah.
And so I guess if they went their separate ways, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So she's like, we should go north. And he's like, stupid young boy, you shouldn't be following him. I'm wise and old, so you should be listening to me. And I think David does something which is very clever, which is when he arrives, he's like, what do you think we should do?
Yeah.
And that's when the Doctor kind of goes, he properly thinks about it, and he's like, well, we can't get in the TARDIS. He doesn't say that.
No.
But he obviously decides we best just go with these resistance people.
And David really puts it on. He kind of says, you're the oldest one here. You're the most senior.
Yeah.
So we want to take your wise counsel. And
Yeah.
the Doctor's like, oh,
I am wise.
what a smart young man.
Yes, perfect for my granddaughter.
Well, Susan was like, yeah, he knows how to play this. This is good.
Yeah.
I like him.
And Susan's like, what? Because then he makes it as if it's the Doctor's idea. And Susan's like, great idea, grandfather.
Yeah.
Whatevs.
Yeah.
And they head up that way.
No. The final scene is...
I haven't finished, but you go.
No, sorry.
No, you. The final scene is...
Well, I thought they're about to leave, and then they don't move because Susan says to the Doctor, let's wait 5 more minutes and rest a bit, because, you know, the Doctor's obviously just coming out of his drugged, state. And also he's an old man. He's like 1 billion trillion years old or whatever. Mm-hmm. Doctor forever. And then, before they move, the Daleks come out, a couple of Daleks come out carrying a box, which has some very strange symbols on it.
And then this is zoom in.
It zooms in as it ticks, which is a great way to show.
Because I think that's the bomb they're going to use to blow up everything.
Well, that's what they're implying anyway.
Yeah.
So I just wrote down, what's in the box? 7. And that's how that episode ends.
Yeah.
So we ended on a kind of a cliffhanger.
Which is good.
It is good.
Because we'll start the next episode at that point.
Yeah. I felt like it was a good idea not to do the 6 episodes like we initially thought we might.
There'd be so much to talk about. This is a very significant set of episodes.
I know something big... I mean, the story's good anyway, but I know something big is coming because you can feel it building, as in important story-wise.
Would you like to make a guess? And I won't give you anything. I won't respond. I might be like, But I'd do that regardless if you were right or wrong. I'd just be an idiot about it.
I'll try not to look at you because I know that you are worried about giving it any expressions, but let me...
There's my mask.
I didn't
Let's
have
look at
any...
you with my eyes.
Whoa, that's very scary. Let me think about it because I hadn't actually thought through that much.
So, just to recap.
Yes.
You got the Doctor, Susan, and David hiding.
David Campbell Soup, yep.
Hanging out, waiting for like 5 minutes to move on.
Yep.
You've got Ian is still hiding in the saucer.
Yep.
He was in the floor. He got out. We missed a little bit because he had a tussle with some Robomen.
Yes.
But he's gone back into the floor.
With another
resistance person.
Yep.
With Craddock.
So now there's 2 of them.
Yep. I think I don't know if they move on from that point. I think they're still in the floor.
No, they are still on the floor. That's where we leave them.
And Susan and Jenny have... Barbara and Jenny have the Book of Dortmund.
Book of Secrets.
With how to build this bomb to kill Daleks.
It doesn't work.
But she still has it.
Yeah,
she could give to the Doctor. The Doctor could improve on that.
Yeah, because he's a real scientist, not like this dude.
And I think they're heading to the resistance people too.
I honestly have no idea what's coming. I can't even guess.
Okay.
I'm trying to think through what I think might happen and I don't know.
It is... I think this is the first episode where it feels much larger scale.
Yeah.
Like you're like, this is quite a significant threat.
To
like,
the whole Earth.
Yeah. Like, you know, in the Daleks, they were just at that city.
Yeah.
You know, and in Marinus, like they could have left Marinus and it wouldn't have affected like the universe.
True.
or
The
the
Aztecs.
sense sphere.
Yes.
Whereas the stakes in this seem like this could be the end of the Earth.
Okay, let me guess. Now I think I've got an idea for a guess.
Okay.
And it's probably completely wrong. They fail to stop the bomb. It destroys the Earth, so they have to try to travel back in time to prevent it from happening. So it's almost like Ian and Barbara have finally got back to Earth, only to see it destroyed, and now they've decided we'll continue with the Doctor and try to find some way to prevent this from happening. It's probably totally wrong because it doesn't actually... I don't think that makes sense. But
I think something does happen in this episode that kind of speaks to that, which is they've rocked up at Earth,
Yep.
but things are horrible.
Yes.
And the Doctor says something like, don't you... much earlier in the very first episode, he says to Ian, don't you want to go out there and see what the future of Earth looks like? And Ian, who's starting to cotton on to what's happening, is like, I don't think so. I think this is a horrible future.
This is very bad.
And you wouldn't want to see that, you know. You'd want to go back to the 1960s and where life is pretty much alright.
Right.
So, it could build to that.
Do they decide they have to go back in time to an earlier...
I'm not telling you anything.
No, but I'm saying maybe they figure we have to go back earlier in time and meet the Daleks at an earlier point of time to try to somehow prevent them from coming up with this idea of going to Earth in the first place. Do you get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
As a way to try to have a more happier future in line for the Earth. We'll see.
We'll see.
In a week's time. I can't believe it's wait a week now. I could watch them tomorrow, but I'm not going to because then it's not as
You
good.
want fresh.
Yeah, for the podcast. Keep it fresh for the men and ladies out there, eh? You
No smack bottoms here. The dark vision of Earth. Or a smack bottom.
Wow.
Let's wrap this up. Because we're not gonna rate this yet.
No.
Do you want to give it? You don't want to give it like a provisional rating?
I think it's one of the most exciting stories so far.
I think it's gonna be double digits. I think at least a 10.
I'm feeling it because I feel like if it builds to where I feel like it's going, it will get there.
Yeah.
Which means I've never rated anything higher than a 9. So that will be my highest rated story.
I think I've done a 10. I think I've done a 10.
It might have been for the first Daleks.
Yeah, mainly because of the nostalgia. But I feel the nostalgia heaps here too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, takes me back
So far, I think my favourite
to the
story
60s. Takes me back.
takes me back to 30 years before I was born.
Yeah.
My favourite story arc so far is the Aztecs,
That is quite good.
but I feel like this is going to be better than that.
Don't forget, there's that scene in the Aztecs.
Yes.
Should we wrap this up?
Quickly wrap up
Yeah.
by saying because the whole thing about do you know where this is going, I was thinking back to that scene that we've talked about where they go back to that point at some time in the story where I can't remember the exact... That scene, particular spot in the Aztecs where someone is looking for someone. And I was trying to link that to this story because that is an obvious link, but I can't in my head. That's why I didn't mention it.
Oh well.
But I'm guessing maybe that's what happens, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway, if it does that, if it does proper time travel back to the Aztecs...
Time travel
No, but I mean, in terms of one story arc,
is linked to another.
I'm going to be really impressed. It is going to be double digits for me. Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
I love you.
So, what did you point out?
Didn't you have like small bits of trivia for
just
today?
Just quick trivia.
Yeah.
Bite-sized trivia.
Go.
So, they actually, when they did the first Daleks episode, they donated those two of the Daleks that they made to like a children's home.
Yeah. And then said give them back.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
is that because they never thought they'd be using them again?
Yes.
And then they realised... I'm not going to look at the trivia on the screens.
Yeah, don't look at the screen.
But did they basically go, oh no, we're going to have to actually use those again. It was popular enough.
Yeah, so the Daleks... They was donated to Dr. Barnados's orphanage.
Oh, I actually feel bad now that they said, can we have those toys back?
They don't They do give them back
Again. Okay.
So they took them because they need to save money.
Yeah.
And there's one Dalek that's painted black. They painted one of the ones that they took back black to be like the Dalek that's in charge.
Yeah. In fact, in the subtitles, it calls that one Supreme Dalek. Which
comes up a lot.
Well, I figured it would because that's a weird name to come up with from nowhere if you're just the person putting the subtitles on the show.
And the Dalek, they do return them, but they replace it with a new one because they painted one of theirs black.
Right.
So they get 2 silver ones.
Yeah.
If you noticed that around certain parts of the city there was the word vetoed everywhere.
Yep.
So that was the Resistance people using that as a signal to say that they've left that area because they've been found out it's not safe.
I think Jenny explains that to Barbara.
Yes, but it was this was actually a joke from the production designers. So that's Spencer Chapman. He's a production designer.
Yep.
If sets were too ambitious, then the designs would be stamped with the word vetoed and handed back to the designers. So if they are like, this story's set on this planet, can you do like a drawing of what the set will look like?
Yep.
And if the production designers were like, if they sent that off to like the producer and the producer's like, nah, that's stamp vetoed on it. So
Right.
the production designers for this episode just stuck vetoed over all of their stuff.
And then
But they just worked into the story.
That's clever. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's good. It's like an inside joke.
Yeah. And that's about it. Donate Daleks. There's your bite-sized trivia.
I'm assuming that all the good trivia we can't talk about yet.
There's so much trivia.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'll just change this page so you're not looking at it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't want it to be spoiled for me. I'd like to remain a fool. Thank you very much.
You will.
Yeah, I've been told that. You'll always be a fool.
The Dalek Invasion of Earth, parts 1 to 3 completed.
Yep.
Parts 4 to 6 to come.
Yep.
If you like the episode,
Yes.
why not review it? Why not give it 5 stars?
Why
and
not?
write a review. On Apple Podcasts, that'd be helpful. Or any other platform that you're listening to.
Yep.
Or share it to friends. Or put it on a social media.
On all our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we share highlights. We post when the episodes are up. On YouTube, there's extra fun little video tidbits where we take sections from the actual show to demonstrate the points we're making.
Yeah.
Please subscribe.
Please.
Please. Please.
If we forgot to mention something, it will be in the episode description. But apart from that, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
What are you doing?
I'm reversing the polarity of my ultrasonic screwdriver's power source.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
I just reversed the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
He's reversed the polarity. Reverse the polarity of the neutron.
Reverse polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.